Welcome to Game Soup with Kayla Dice and Chloe Montgomery. It's the game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. We're trying a new intro this week. We're not sure if it's going to stick, but we're going to swing with it, right?
I think it will stick, but we'll get more confident with it. We could start trading it off, because I think I've only ever done the intro a single time.
And I think it was as a joke when I got an award, yeah.
Yeah, that was the nice little turnabout. I wanted to give you some props, but also at this point, maybe we could just, we don't always need to pat ourselves on the back.
Listen, we're like 68 episodes in, you know who we are at this point.
Well, I mean, we've got to remember that every episode could be someone's first episode.
Yeah, but...
That's the pressure I'm putting on this episode. No, I'm not putting that on this episode. Also, because I want to talk about things from last episode. But how has your week been before we jump to that?
It was good. I went for a nice little shopping trip. I've had lots of naps. My memory of the week is basically just naps and shopping trips. So, you know, how bad can it be?
Women be shopping and sleeping.
And I don't even eat hot chip, you know, like...
Do you lie?
I do lie, yeah, in bed a lot.
Lie in bed, yeah. That's great. That sounds like a nice week, Chloe. What did I do? I went to... Oh, our last episode came out on Valentine's Day and we forgot to do any riffs on that.
Yeah.
I celebrated Valentine's Day.
We did the Super Bowl jokes, even though the episode would come out a week after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's just because I follow people from Philly, but I'm like, oh, but people talked about the Super Bowl for a month after. And I'm like, actually, maybe that's not how it is in the rest of America. That's maybe only in the city where you win.
Yeah.
Because obviously the rest of the American states are losers.
Listen, my blue sky was just like go birds for that entire evening, so...
Yeah, I mean, they go and they went and they did it. But I celebrated Valentine's Day. I went to like an exhibition in a museum. Oh, and then I celebrated my nan's 90th birthday and saw some family, which is always weird.
Good for that.
Yeah, my granddad was telling me how he liked the art for Transgender Deathmatch Legend 2, and what I'm saying is like the elderly are cool with it, even if the fucking trust and safety at Backer kit have a problem. The elderly, they're down with Transgender Deathmatch Legend 2.
So there's somewhere in the middle there where a woman getting beaten up isn't cool.
The boomers are fine with it, but I don't know, I assume the millennials or Gen Xers at Backer kit, they've got a problem. It's not what you expect. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jousting Game. Again, the game we came up with last week where we said, you know, you do the jousts, you skip forward to a new tournament, and, you know, time passes and stuff. I'm making it.
Nice. Yeah, I keep getting messages about how jousting is weird, and it's like, oh, but I don't just want to have horses, but then also, if it's anything other than horses, finding royalty-free art will be very difficult.
Yeah, I've changed my mind on it not being horses. In my mind, I was like, oh, that feels like it makes it... Like, I was sort of like... It's the thing, because ultimately, I'm not really a big fantasy person. So, unlike I feel like the vast majority of game designers, it's so not my go-to, and I kind of need to talk myself into being more interested in fantasy stuff sometimes. And this is like... I feel this will be so close to not fantasy, but will maybe be a bit. A lot of the things you said in the episode of being like, oh, maybe do this or that, and I was like, I'm not so sure if that's how I'd do it. You are right on, and I've just changed my mind on. Like, yeah, it will be more broadly just like pseudo-medieval with maybe some fantasy elements, but that's more driven by players if they build the kingdoms their characters come from as being a bit fantasy influenced. I said in the episode as well, like, oh, I could imagine a version where it's semi-world building game, but I probably wouldn't do it like that. And now having played with the idea a lot more, I'm like, no, the shape this, like, the shape this game wants to be to work involves that pseudo world building thing. And that means it does just work best as a, pseudo medieval setting, maybe with some fantasy elements if they're brought there by the players. I won't talk much about what I'm doing with the game because I'll just write it in that sense. But I do have, beyond giving you the sort of, yes, you were right, if you want to do a you were right dance or something.
I'm not that full of myself.
But one thing I am stuck on is I keep just calling it Jousting Game because we didn't name it in the episode. It does need a name that probably should be better than Jousting Game. Do you want to hear some bad options?
Hit me with the bad options.
Tilting Towards Tomorrow.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it's a bit too
It's up its
romantic
own
or
boat.
whatever. Tilt is like the tilt is often another phrase for like jousting or stuff. Meetings at Lance Point.
I don't mind that. That's cute. I can see that as like a
Yeah.
TV series.
Mock combat. That's just I'm like, oh, isn't that kind of interesting? Mock and combat in a game that would be about honor, but it's bad.
Nah, yeah.
Memories of the Joust.
I don't hate that. It's evocative.
Yeah, at the tourney.
At the tourney, it's just like the Memories of the Joust one doesn't like lean towards the like, oh, you are also building the history of this world.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. The much more wanky version of that was Tilting Recollections, which also sounds a bit Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
One I did consider was just calling it a game about jousting.
I can see it. It's a bit like a game about climbing a hill, sort of like YouTube bait.
Yeah. Then one I kind of like, but I'm not sure if it has the right tone. But it kind of almost was a bit like Western influenced in a way, was the Gallant and the Virtuous.
That's cute. I can see that. That sounds like a Kayla Dice game.
It does, actually. It's probably the most Kayla Dice game name. But yeah, so that's been fun. That's just a fun thing for you to listen back to, audience, that big girly. I, ages ago, teased at the end of an episode, oh, I had something about a tarot game we could do, and then we never did it. Do you want to do that today? Because you also said you wanted to just, like, smash your head against a card game and see what happens.
Yeah. Go ahead. What's tarot game? I think
So,
off mic I pitched it's like Balatvo, but the tarot cards are the playing cards and the playing cards are the tarot cards.
yeah, so this isn't me pitching a game already. It's me. So, like, tarot cards, when they exist, are just cards for a game. Like, they're that before divination came in. And
Yeah.
I, at one point, was looking up one of these games, and I learned about the rules for one. It was maybe called, like, Tarock or another one of those things. What it works is, like, as a trick-taking game, but it's with, like, multiple people rather than, like, the one-on-one thing
Yeah.
the Transgender Deathmatch Legend did. So, like, there's a suit to be led in first. Whoever plays the first card decides what suit is being led in. And then if you're playing cards from the minor arcana, you have to match the suit and you want to play a higher card to be the one who wins the trick. But you can also play cards from the major arcana where they act as trump cards. They count as matching the suit because they match everything, and they just are scored by the value of, like, the number. So, like,
The magician gets you 1 point, yeah.
Yeah, that was an example. I needed an example. Whereas I think all of the minor arcana cards, as long as they match the suit, count as whatever their value is. And yeah, so you do a round, and then whoever got the highest card takes the whole thing. But it's not just like, oh, you've got that trick. It's you get points for the value of all of the cards in that trick. So it's also a fact of, like, if you know you are not gonna win, you probably want to put in a low card, so, like, that trick isn't as worth as much. But obviously, if you try and put in, like, the emperor or something, and you're like, cool, I've really got this trick and it's really beefed up now, and then someone comes in with the world, it's like, oh no, I just gave away so many points.
Yeah.
How could this be an RPG?
Oh, it's an RPG. Okay.
Well, that's what that game is. That's a real game. I've not invented that, Chloe. Chloe, I led in with the explanation of I looked into the
Yeah,
rules
and
of
I
how these
thought
original card
you were
games
gonna be
work.
like, so when we do the Killer Dice version, these tarot cards do effects on the next round. Um,
Oh, you want to just make up just a fun card game without.
well, okay. What's the RPG version of what did you say the game was called?
So, it's like Tarock or something. Just
Tarock.
I just found it off of Wikipedia.
I'm writing it
But it's
down.
a
'Cause I'm not
trick
gonna remember
taking
that
game
shit.
using tarot. How would you? So yeah, what is the? How do you make an action resolution of like what is almost, I guess, like a bidding war for a trick using both the minor and major arcana? Like, what action is that accomplishing?
So when you play your cards, are you revealing them? So it's like I play a 2, and then someone else plays a 4, and then I say, right, I'm going to play a 7 or something.
Well, you
Or is it
only
you
go
all play it
round.
face down?
No, you go round. So, like, yeah, people see what it is, and for the minor arcana, you have to match the suit that the first player played in,
Yeah.
or jump to a trump. But yeah, you go round in an order, presumably like a clockwise or something. Because yeah,
Okay.
it's a fact of if you see someone spitting the king, you're like, okay, got to use a trump if I want to win this.
So we scrap the jousting game and we make it about wizard duels, and this is the resolution mechanic for that.
Okay, so multi-person wizard duels, where yeah, okay,
Or it's like gladiatorial combat, maybe, and
that that also works.
it's like depending on like what cards you play, it like that's like your strike or whatever against the other person, and that's how much damage you do, like for the trick. Like the points that you would score in the trick is the damage that you do, but then like the major arcana maybe have effects.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
if I
actually,
play a specific thing, then I get a defensive bonus, or if I win the hand, I get an offensive bonus, or like a bonus to the next hand or something.
I've just now thought with what you said about wizard duels has made me think maybe it's something like, or even not like wizard duels, maybe it's just like a fucking adventure game and you're all
Yeah,
wizards. But like, yeah, I think all the suits of like swords, wands, pentacles, cups correspond to just some kind of like blast,
the
and it's like the
elements from
strength
the
of the
air.
blast is that. But
Yeah.
then the major arcana are summons, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
for like, yeah, so it summons some kind of like world creature or whatever. But yeah, I guess this is PvP actually, so maybe that's why duels made sense, rather than, unless maybe it's like a variant where there's a GM
Yeah,
who goes after each player. So it's like the GM leads and has played the three of cups. Let's imagine there's three players opposite the GM, who
yeah,
is also a player. Blah blah blah. Okay, player one plays the six of cups. The GM plays again, plays the eight of cups. Player two doesn't have any cups higher than the eight, so they play the magician. The GM plays again and plays the judgment. Plays judgment. Player three comes in and plays the star, which let's for this purpose imagine is higher than judgment. I think it's not, and that wins that action. And then it's played out with like, oh yeah, the fire blasts from player one, the fire blast, the like, yeah, magician summoning, and that's like resolving these like big combat sequences. Is that a bit like, okay, it's not a bit like that, but I was gonna say, doesn't like Aegon have a thing where it's like, yeah, you roll all your dice at once and then are resolving what like this heroic deed looked like?
I've never heard of Aegon, but it does sound like a mechanic from something or other. Like I could
Aegon
see
was
that
the game
existing.
John Harper did after Blades.
Oh well, there you go.
like Greek heroes and stuff. But yeah, maybe it's something like that. Or maybe it is a demigod thing or some kind of like epic divine adventure.
Yeah, I like that it's maybe like sort of grounded, but you got the tarot cards as like super moves or something, and it's like, yeah, once you've played out the hand, you sort of work out how that scene went, rather than like, oh, I swing my sword, I play a two. No, you play the hand out and then you work out what happened retroactively.
Yeah. Because I think it is in an almost epic, I was going to say epic poem scale. I don't think it's that pretentious. But yeah, it is the thing of like, okay, cool. These are all the elements we've got in the scene, and the scene was set up with this big challenge from the GM. He probably gets a really fun, pretentious name in this game because
Yeah,
like, and then the players resolve it afterwards. And obviously, if like they fail to beat the GM, it's like, okay, this situation is now getting worse, and then another hand is set to be played or stuff.
yeah.
I think
And
that's
maybe you
fun.
have to win like a certain amount of hands to win the encounter.
Maybe thinking of the I think it's like the game's shape as a whole is like a set of encounters that form almost like an epic tale of your cast.
Yeah,
Like in it, it's kind of episodic. Sorry, go on.
now I was gonna say, do we want like to bring in the like the point scoring thing from the original? It's like you have each side has to get to like a set target to like win that side of the encounter, or
Yeah, or maybe the point scoring is like an advancement thing. Like,
oh,
so
so
it's
you then spend the
whoever
points
scores
that
the
you,
overall thing, it's like they
yeah,
get those points. And for players, it's like, okay, cool, I'm putting that into my XP thing. I'm maybe gonna like level up or whatever. Um for the GM, it's like, cool, I'm using that to like advance do me clocks or stuff.
yeah. No, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually quite good. I didn't expect this to be so good when I brought this game to us.
You said something about it being like an epic poem or something, so now in my head it's about like Vikings, but
I was imagining sort of like Greek demigods, but yeah, Vikings also works. I feel like in some level is like this game probably comes with, we'd probably write it specific to a setting. You also could probably go kind of like a, you know, other kind of like mythic fantasy thing if you
yeah,
wanted, like either Vikings or up to Norse gods or whatever. But I also think there's maybe like a note in an appendix about how like, oh yeah, you can really feel free to like really twist the world of this game to match the art of whatever deck you're playing with, because I think
yeah.
that would be fun. Um, do you have any tarot cards? I only very recently got a tarot deck.
I have some somewhere. I don't know where they are, but they're like black and gold and like really nice.
Yeah,
They're
but
not just
what's
like
their
Rider
like? What's their
Waite.
theme? Oh, is it right
Um,
away?
I can't remember. I don't think it's like a theme in particular. It's just like very like geometric art.
That makes sense. The one I have is called like Cosmic Slumber. It's by Tillia Walden, who is a really great cartoonist. But like, I guess if I was using that deck, the kind of like state of the world would probably become a bit almost like Adventure Time esque cartoony. Um, but then playing up like epic heroes with that.
I can see that.
That's, I guess, if you do Rider Waite, you get something a bit more fantastical. I think that's a wrap on that game. Other than like if anyone has a cool name for it,
I think
I
it's like
don't off the top of my head.
whatever sort of theme we call it. It's like Mythic colon the Tarock game or something.
Yeah, should I in the middle of this Wikipedia what the actual?
It might help.
Well, okay. And while I do that, how about you get up a random word generator and get us some words?
Oh, if I must, I've also googled the name of my old tarot deck, and it's called the Golden Thread Tarot Deck by Labyrinthos.
It's more Tarock, but that is it. So, do you have any random words for me?
Yes, Uncle Frog.
Uncle Frog, yes. This, speaking of like having just mentioned Adventure Time offhandedly earlier, like it gives Cartoon Network energy.
Well, they did have a show called Uncle Grandpa.
Yeah. Do we want to lean into that, or do we want to go in a different direction? Because I feel you could also go weird fairy tale with this.
I think you play as Uncle Frog, the eponymous Uncle Frog, and you have your nieces and nephews and nibblings and whatever coming to you one at a time for advice from Uncle Frog, this worldly guy who knows something about everything. Except you're a frog and you don't know shit about nothing.
Wait, so just to clarify, your nieces and nephews and other nibblings are not also frogs?
Yeah, they're just guys, I don't know. It's like, maybe we have like a preamble in the book and it's like, once upon a time, there was a guy called Greg and he got turned into a frog by an evil witch. And all of his friends thought that sucked shit, but they kept him in his life. They kept Uncle Frog in their lives because he's a good guy at heart, and he makes really good grilled cheese.
I so yeah.
And so as they grew up and made families, he became Uncle Frog, and he like became a fixture in everyone's lives. And every like Christmas and Easter, Uncle Frog comes round, and he regales the children of heroes of his froggy past. Because he's not done any of this shit. He's like not a daring do musketeer. He's just a guy.
I've got a pitch that goes with this, but is
store.
slightly different. Just a narrative pitch is where I'm like, no, I think he did lead an exciting life and has only very recently, like this year, been turned into a frog. But everyone still comes to him for advice because it's like, well, you're the cool guy, but like he's stuck as a frog, and it's like, can he communicate that? I feel based on the setup that has been pitched, this is like a one-page solo journaling game that uses honey heist mechanics.
Your two stats are Uncle and Frog.
Yeah, your two stats are Uncle and Frog. You're rolling to see like what good advice gets got. And then it's just like, yeah, do it as someone new is coming to you for advice each month. Say what happened to Uncle Frog each month. Maybe it's a game you are supposed to play in real time at a year, just checking in with Uncle Frog.
Yeah. Like his friends, they do a phone call with Uncle Frog, check he's okay, that he's not like eating too many flies. Like,
yeah, like you check in with Uncle Frog once a month, for a year, which is the year he's going to be Uncle Frog, and answering your prompts, rolling your dice, resolving things in honey heist mechanics. And then at the end of the year, you write a little epilogue about, what did the no longer Uncle Frog learn now that they turn back to a human when the year comes to an end?
Oh, he turns back to a human? Damn.
Or can choose to stay as a frog.
Oh, he can choose to stay as a frog because he's discovered that being a frog that makes grilled cheese sandwiches is just the best thing to be. I like it. See,
yeah,
the way you said about it's like an episodic thing, I could also see a world where Uncle Frog is a sort of Yazeba's style thing where you have like a bunch of episodes in the book or chapters or whatever they call it. And it's like, in this episode, the Wandering Swordsman comes to Uncle Frog for help. And then Uncle Frog goes on a little quest with him. And then the next one, it's like, oh, the local tavern keep wants, Uncle Frog's help to make the best soup in the world. And it's like, you just go on these really mundane, like, stories. And Uncle Frog's always there to sort of helping. But he's just kind of a bumbling dude.
Yeah. That makes sense. This feels like a very sedate and mellow kind of game.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels almost close. At least, like, the episodic version, I think leans more into that cartoon energy with what was mentioned about Yazeba's. But also, the journaling version, I'm like, I feel like we've invented the tabletop version of an idle game.
Like, you have to go to Uncle Frog for, like, advice about your life, and then you have to imagine a therapist in your brain who is also a frog. And he gives you advice, but you, like, have to roll based on, like, is he more Uncle or Frog this month? And it's like...
Yeah, I think that's often how it is, yeah. Maybe it could be turned into a more sort of life advice kind of thing.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Game Soup. Please imagine a frog in your brain.